Hi, good afternoon. Good to see you all. Glad you're here. I'd summarize some of the great work we did here in the Florida House today. We had some bills. Some were obviously more controversial than others. But candidly, nobody I don't think has reported accurately about the bills that we've done. So I won't bother to start with that. But with that, I'm happy to take your questions.
Mr. Speaker, two of the bills, individual freedom and parental rights.
Hold on, wait. Go ahead.
Two of the bills, individual freedom and parental rights. Democratic lawmakers, one of whom is gay, and several of whom are black, said that those bills disproportionately harm their constituents who are transgender or LGBTQ or black and brown. And I was just wondering, why not believe them? They seem like experts on that, and why not work to assuage their fears?
Thanks for that question. It's exactly why I started off with, this is why I don't summarize the bills, because they're wildly misreported. So the question is, why not believe the members? Why not read the bills? One of the bills you mentioned about the kids is 4 pages, double-spaced, and the changes are underlined, right? So in that bill, it says that in grades 1 through 3, so first grade 6-year-olds, that it's not to have classroom instruction, so teachers teaching instruction about things like gender identity, sexual orientation for 6-year-olds. I think we would all agree that if we walked into a first grade classroom and there was a teacher giving instruction about sexual intercourse, we would think that that is wildly inappropriate timing for a 6-year-old. At some point, it's going to be appropriate for them to receive that kind of instruction. We passed a bill last year empowering parents to be able to opt out if they weren't comfortable based on their child's age. That is what is in the bill. So a lot of things were said about the bill. A lot of things were reported about the bill. The name that you all have picked that have been reported on the bill in no way is an accurate description of what is actually in the bill. And surely everyone's capable of reading it. It's 4 pages, it's double-spaced, it's underlined. They just don't bother to.
Mr. Speaker, what do you say to people who criticize the legislature and say you all should be focusing on issues that actually affect people, like pocketbooks, like affordable housing?
I would say we're focusing on, the question was, people say the criticism is, why aren't you focusing on things that are important to people? This is a state with 22 million people. I assure you they all have a diverse viewpoint as to what's important to them. Luckily, I would say we're focusing on all those issues. You mentioned affordable housing. Today we had HJR 1, a priority of the Florida House is on the floor. Representative Tomko did an excellent job. It is an additional $50,000 homestead exemption for people like teachers, police officers, firefighters, active duty military, child investigators who investigate the delinquency and abuse of our children in our community. That is a direct answer to a workforce housing issue. Yes, it's an opportunity for us to honor some of our first responders and critical folks in our community, but this is also a workforce housing issue. These are individuals we absolutely need to deliver on the promise of government to Floridians. So one thing we can do is make their housing cheaper, and we prioritize that today on the floor. I believe it passed unanimously or nearly unanimously.
Your thoughts on seven Republicans basically defecting out the HR 1557?
You'd have to ask those Republicans. We also had a Democrat who voted for the bill, so I guess you could say it was bipartisanly passed.
When it comes to affordable housing, one of the biggest issues in South Florida is that the median price of a home has risen so high that benefit will not help a lot of people because they can't even afford to buy a home. What are you doing to help people who need rental assistance or who need other kinds of affordable housing besides the home ownership piece? Because in places like Palm Beach County, the median price of a home is $500,000.
Look, we are in a place now where the housing market in the state of Florida is just exploding. It's exploding. I know Miami is always the first one people point to, probably because it's the most expensive area of the state. The Tampa Bay housing market, if you believe some of the national folks, is the fastest growing housing market in America right now. It is a challenge, right? Part of our success of people wanting to come here, and it is success. This isn't an accident. People want to come to Florida. I have my beliefs on why they want that. I think they want better life for their kids, more freedom, and that's why they're coming here. But the reality is that is going to give us a lot of success. It's why we've seen every time we go into a budget conference, for estimating conference, we see the monies go up and up and up just because people are moving here. The challenge that creates is it puts a strain on housing. It puts a strain on our workforce. Last year we passed the the REACH Act, which was specifically designed to get people in and out of jobs, credentialing, get rapid employment, getting them into a marketplace so that they can get higher pay without having debt in higher education. We obviously talked about the housing. So I don't think that this is like a one solution. And I don't think always the solution is directing at housing, Mary Ellen. You and I have had that conversation a bunch of times. We have focused a great deal on employment. You mentioned Miami-Dade. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the president of Miami-Dade College and the workforce bill that we passed last year, the REACH Act. Miami-Dade College has been one of the most committed state colleges in the state of Florida of implementing that bill. They have now said to Floridians, as our law dictated, we will give you a money-back guarantee if you come to Miami-Dade College for these 3 credentials. If you get them, we will guarantee you have a job in 6 months, or we'll give you your money back. Government never does that. It's employment that allows people to have upward mobility so that they can do things like send their kids to school and afford their rent.
I'd like to ask you about redistricting.
Sure.
There's all sorts of speculation and buzz going on, and basically just we're going to boil down to it. Do you have the votes to get the current map out of your committee tomorrow? There's people suggesting you all are going to drop.
Yes, we do.
You do. And you're not going to drop a new map tonight? There's all sorts of speculation.
Gary, the redistricting committee is working like any other committee. They're working right now. I expect that there will be some modifications to the underlying map. They are working on it. If and when that happens, it'll be an amendment to the bill.
Are you going to do modifications? Are you going to accede to the governor's demands that you change the North Florida district?
They're working on an amendment tonight. They will release that amendment. You always want me to spoil everything for you, Gary. I'm not going to spoil it for you.
I'm just trying to figure out where this
You got to
is
wait.
going.
Otherwise, what are you going to do
Are
tonight?
you going to test the governor? and
Christine,
ask him
Gary's
to
going to be here late.
You're gonna go closer to the Senate, right? Isn't that what the goal is?
No, that's not the goal. The goal is to have a legally compliant map that brings the stakeholders together. I think we've got a great map in the House. I think the work that Chairman Leake's committee and the subcommittees did on the congressional map, Chairman Soroy, has been awesome. I think we've had great testimony. I watched the testimony of the last redistricting committee. So I think they're trying to incorporate the feedback from members on the committee, things they heard, and come up with a map that they'll release presumably this evening.
Mr. Speaker, at the beginning of session, I think you told me in the gaggle that you wanted to start a conversation about price transparency for healthcare. So today, I'm pretty sure the House passed a bill related to that. Are you going to champion this in the Senate? That's where the measure died last session. How much will you push for it?
Yeah, we've always championed price transparency. I think probably what I was talking about at the time was an article Christine had done about a healthcare transparency bill that I carried as a freshman. It was about utilization. It was during COVID. People weren't getting on and checking. I think that it has to be a constant priority of the legislature, not just this year, but every year. Because if we're going to start to change behavior and have a healthcare marketplace, then we need to have people who are engaged with price. Right now, there's not a lot of incentive to look for price. So I think we're trying to get the quality metrics next to the metrics on price to make sure that Floridians know how to get to that. I think that there's been a challenge in getting them to look and making sure they know this resource is available, and that's a challenge we need to continue to meet.
Two more questions. Two.
Coming into the last couple of weeks' session, looks like the governor's priorities, the ones that he's really been vocal about, are on track to pass. One thing that I haven't seen, though, is the gas tax moratorium idea that he had. Could that pop up in conference at all? And we've heard President Simpson have some issues with it about it apply to everyone and not just Florida residents. So where are you on that, and could it pop up here?
Yeah, I've vocalized in this gaggle, similar concerns as the president, which is, out-of-state visitors, who drive into the state, they pay the gas tax. I think our priority in the House budget, as reflected in our tax package, was to make sure that tax cuts were received by Floridians. You saw a sales tax cut for diapers. Why? Because diapers are super expensive. And when you need diapers, you need a lot of them. And that was a way that we felt like would really benefit Floridians in a significant way. There was a tax in there 6 months long on energy efficient appliances, refrigerators, washing machines, dryers, dishwashers. Why? Well, it's an incentive because when you need it, they're expensive. And also we wanted the incentive for them to be energy efficient. If you're going to buy one, let's buy one that's energy efficient. You go through that, the Freedom Week tax package that we had last year, get people engaged in events, going out, having a good time. What I like to call, I don't think we named it this, but I like to refer to it as the tool time tax credit. You're going to have to improve your own home and do things like that. Go out and buy some tools, get a tax credit. You look through that tax package, and you will find a tax cut that helps everyday Floridians who are fixing their home, changing their kids' diapers, going out and buying a refrigerator. Those are the kinds of tax cuts that we were focused on in the Florida
Is
House.
that a no then on it popping up then because of gas prices? I mean, we got
Look,
the
we can
war
always address those issues in conference. Obviously inflation, which is I think the reason the governor talked about the gas tax, is on the rise. There's no question about that. Which is why we had the Biden Inflation Fund in the House budget, specifically to say, look, just like homeowners in Florida are planning for inflation, the state legislature needs to plan for inflation. The reality is we're going to spend, if we spend $10 million to build a building this year, they're probably coming back next year to say we need another $2.5, $3 million to finish that building because the price of steel, the price of everything has gone up. So in order to plan for that, we would manage our house, our legislative budget, the state budget, the same way people are managing their budgets at home. Christine, I know you've been waiting.
Chime in on the PIP and homeowners insurance. It seems like, and I'd love to talk to you about Medicaid. I kind of feel like that's an insurance, even though it isn't. But I feel like homeowners and PIP, where is that? And if you wanted to comment on Medicaid, if you think your changes this week are enough to get the Senate to bite.
That's a lot. That's like a threefer.
I know, it's all insurance.
Man, all right, I'll see if I can remember. It's getting late in session. PIP, I think, is sort of stalled at this point. I didn't seem like there was a lot of interest in getting it done. I know Chair Grawl did an excellent job. We did pass it last year, went to the governor. Governor decided not to sign it. As far as homeowners insurance, there's been work. I know the Citizens Bill is moving in the House, trying to figure out as Citizens begins to grow because of homeowners insurance, are there tweaks we can make to Citizens to make sure that it stays at a good population? And then I guess, on your third part, I'll give you one nugget on the Medicaid. The dental part was modified. That was a kind of a piece of contention in the dental carve-out. So we had some things in there to kind of make sure that we're constantly ensuring that the dental quality is good, that we're looking at the numbers. The House wanted to have a conversation around that. We did, and now we're ensuring that conversation continues.
DeSantis this morning said that he's at CPAC, and he said that the legislature is giving him money to remove undocumented immigrants and send them to Delaware. That's $8 million that he has requested from federal relief funds. That hasn't come up yet, but where is your stance on giving?
You're like Gary, you want to cut to the end. We're going to have budget conference. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be spreadsheets. I'm excited to see you all when we budget conference. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, when's that going to start?
Probably Monday.